Well, hey. Morning. Welcome all to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, third plus your video game enthusiast and industry analyst. And today, for June 30th, 2025, I'll run through the latest gaming news, what I've been playing, all of that stuff. So, good morning, everyone. Steven, good to see you in the chat. Ultronymous, you gonna miss a stream? Well, have a good day then. I'll talk to you later. Jamkel X, good to see you. I guess, is it hot for you? I did my walk early this morning. And then Chris, howdy, good to see you. So good to see all you guys here. Hope you had a good weekend. Let's get into it. First of all, I had the third anime night. Had some friends come over. Had an old friend come over too, so that was fun. We watched the first episode of Invincible, which it's a great show if you guys haven't watched it. In that first episode, I didn't realize how well it was actually put together. I forgot the pacing of, some of the storyline and how that comes up. But then we watched the first episode of Bubblegum Crisis, which that still holds up. I know I say holds up. I watched it for the first time maybe a year ago. But I feel like it's one of the better when it comes to like, what's, some classic anime that has those, sci-fi horror vibes. And it's definitely Bubblegum Crisis. It teeters on the line of almost like into the anime side of things because, they have the girl that sings in a band. So it kind of gets a little cringy like that, but in a good way. It is good. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. In next time, I think we're going to go episode 2, Invincible, episode 2, Bubblegum Crisis. But if anyone, that joins, ever has suggestions, we'll watch other things because we still need to get to the second Evangelion. Original or midnight? Oh, original for sure. Original. I love how the original looks. Even, with some of the dated animation, like you can still get over it because it's overall just really good. So okay, so that was that weekend. I want to talk about something else too real quick. This is kind of for people that do maybe YouTubing themselves. And I bought this new AverMedia, what do they call it? Camstream 4K. If you go to Senpai Gaming's YouTube channel, there is a 20% off coupon. And the reason I bought it is because originally I was using this Camlink 4K, which I realized the whole, I forget that every time I need to do all this stuff so you guys can see everything, but I'm fast at it, so it almost doesn't ruin the show. But anyway, as cool as this was, and this has been the main thing I've used since, for, back when I was doing Blue Gamer, I had like a cheap, crappy webcam, but for Gundam Explained, I'd be using this Camlink 4K with the DSLR because that was when I was like, okay, I really want to up my YouTube game. And this has been fine to use. It's USB, as you can see. Oh, that rhymed. But the other side is HDMI, but it's just an awkward stick that you have plugged in, and the weight of the USB, it's always been weird and finicky. And there was times, lately it's been good, but there was times where it just wouldn't work a lot. Anyway, so I just decided to get this one. In the main thing, there's a couple things about this. It's not a dongle. It's actually a device, and it comes with the, I forget the hot shoe. I forget what the name of the connector on a DSLR, but you just plug that into the DSLR, and then there's a USB-C and HDMI port. So luckily, I just have a tiny HDMI cable that goes right into the camera. So that helps out a lot. And then a giant USB-C cable that goes to the computer. So it's cool. I just want to throw that out there if you guys were interested. They're about the same price. This is on sale for $90 instead of $100, so $20 different. I think that $20 more, it has the monetization, USB-C, the attachment to your DSLR, but again, 20% off. Anyway, cool stuff, because again, this is the type of stuff that is pivotal to my YouTubing experience. So I wanted to share just in case. I've heard good things about that AverMedia one. Yeah, I've heard good things about the brand and never had their stuff. I had to force them to watch Bebop and Zeta Gundam. Well, that is the long term. That is the long game here, right? Is to then, and some of these guys have watched anime before, so it's not a big deal. But what if I can get it to where then they are then more open to Gundam? Your Gotcha 4K screen cap box is like the creme de la creme. Yeah. There's even the one I was thinking of getting is just these things are like $200 is those internal PCIe ones. Because I wonder, when I have those USB issues sometimes with my computer, I wonder if it's because I have all these USB devices plugged in and I could be using one of those internals. But that's when I make it big and I can throw down the money. But anyway, let's move on to what I've been playing. So this weekend, okay, turn-based boxing. I'm glad Steven's here for this because he actually the developer reached out to him with this key. And then Steven was like, Adam, you'll probably do more of this. And I was like, oh, thank you. And this is very intriguing, turn-based boxing, because, and I don't want to make this sound bad, but it's almost like an alien designed the interface. Because when I go to play the game, it's like, wow, where do I click? What do I do? Like something that would say you would do next would be up in this top corner. And it's all done in like MS Paint. But I'm not trying to disparage the game because really what's behind this game is basically what it's saying, turn-based boxing. And it's a very interesting numbers-based game where it's not what you think where there's one boxer and then another and then you're like taking turns. No, it's like there's this whole thing of boxers and you have the different, it's all stats based. It's very much a numbers game. Like a mathematician made this game. And I don't think it's out yet. I think it's probably going to come out soon, but I think some keys were given out. I'll probably spend some more time with it because I'm fascinated by how they made this game. It's fascinating because it's not like they were trying to meet any sort of modern conventions required for gaming. It was like, no, this is an interesting idea we have, or they. It could be one person. Anyway, some more War Robots Frontiers. They are generous with the achievements. It really makes me feel like I'm putting a lot of time in this game. And 9 hours could be considered a lot. I might have only played 1 or 2 matches over the weekend. Again, that's what this game's good about. If like, there's really nothing to do at any moment, I want to jump in and for, like 10 minutes, have a cool mech battle. That game does it. And it's really now at the time where anytime I'm jumping into play, there is something to upgrade, something to buy, something to do. Okay, Death Stranding Director's Cut. So the other thing, I wanted to add, and maybe this is a good time to talk about it. So, I got that new TV that we've talked about, and I love that I can have the ROG Ally docked HDMI to the TV, but also I have the Ethernet port in. So when I'm doing the Steam game streaming, and so this is how I'm playing Death Stranding on the TV. Death Stranding in front of my computer is not fun. I like it on the couch. The game feels big, and I feel relaxed and big, and you're just kind of walking for a long time. And being able to stream off the ROG Ally on wired internet makes it look nearly identical to if I was playing on my PC. I love this feature. Anyway, so it's a lot of fun to play Death Stranding that way. So I'm 4 hours and 25 minutes into Death Stranding, and that's some time to put into a game. And it really, really just is traveling back and forth, delivering things. And so that's the thing. There's always something to deliver. And when you get to that location, there's always something else to then do. It's more of you go from A to do something at B, and B, there's something you could do at maybe C or D. But regardless of where you go, C or D, even if you had C to do, when you go to D, there's also going to be maybe B. And so what I mean is the game is like a web of the connections, which is kind of like the point of it. But the moment-to-moment gameplay within the structure of there's always something to do, the moment-to-moment gameplay is non-existent, and that's where my neurons then get bored. Because there is a DoorDash simulator. That's actually a very good, funny, modern way to say it. And that's the thing, like, and I think this is classic Kojima because I could tell what he's trying to get across and I can feel it. And so that's why I like to jump in this game sometimes. It's almost like I'm wanting to feel what he is expressing, but I I enjoy it, but then I get over it really quick. But I'm intrigued by Death Stranding 2 because apparently they've been able to really hone in on the structure. I heard when you're delivering stuff, it doesn't feel like a chore as much as it's a little more exciting and explore. The combat, while is not a focus, is not as inconveniently annoying as the first game. It's in here and it's more easy to get through in the second game. So, but the struggle, it's like I could get Death Stranding 2 right now, but then it would just be on the PlayStation 5 and not the Pro. But it's not like I really need a Pro because then I have a PC, but Death Stranding 2 is not going to be on PC until maybe next year. So, but I want these connections now. I want, but no, it's okay. It's cool because I went and looked at Death Stranding and I think like 117,000 people were playing on Steam the same time as me. It was that might be maybe 17,000. Let's look it up. Steam DB Death Stranding Director's Cut. Charts. Okay, yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah, not 100 because this is 22 players right now. 15. Yeah, so it was probably 17,000 when I was playing over the weekend. Yeah. So that is cool that there's that many people still playing. Although really, that's not a lot. But then this game's also on PlayStation. I don't know if we can get data on that. Anyway, so what else? Megacopter. So Megacopter, Blades of the Goddess. This is interesting. This plays like old school Desert Strike, Urban Strike, Jungle Strike, whatever strike. But it leans more into sci-fi. You have some sort of like pact with an Aztec god, and so you have like superpowers, like you can dodge. There's another thing where it's just like an area of AOE area of there's AOE area. What Adam? AO. What is it with these video game terms sometimes, Adam? It has an area of attack that I guess I still don't kind of get how it works. I was fighting a boss, I just turned it on and just stood at the boss and it was attacking the boss. So, but you go around, you pick up ammo, you pick up money, you pick up hearts out of people that are sacrificing themselves to you, to the Aztec gods. So I know that's weird, but that's how you get some of the. Anyway, it's very fun. It's very fun, very indie, low budget, but fun. All right, Super Meat Boy. I did not play that, but funny story. When we were doing the anime night, it was like myself, my brother was there, and this other guy, Adam, that have known each other. And they were talking about back in the day, we'd play Super Meat Boy all the time. And we were like looking at our stats and all that. Then my brother had more achievements or whatever. That was a fun thing to do at that moment. All of a sudden, it's like when Super Meat Boy came out, we knew we all played it and enjoyed it. And so we were like reflecting on the leaderboards and all that. But I didn't play it. I just loaded it up to look. So Mech Warrior 5 Clans, the other part I was going to add to the anime night, and I totally forgot, was I bought a new sound system, it seems really awesome, right? Well, back in the day when I first lived on my own, I would have the whole home theater set up wherever I lived. And then, as, I got kids and then we would move, I ended up like not only relegating the home theater to like my office or whatever, but then I even consolidated more to where I didn't use the extra speakers anymore. But again, I've talked about now I'm at a time in my life, the kids are older and I have a little more agency over what I want to do. And so I was like, you know what? I want to get a subwoofer again for the TV. But I was like, first I'll just get a basic sound bar. When I went to Best Buy, I was shocked what they had. They had a sound bar that works for my TV, like specifically to where it has this thing called Q Symphony. It's Samsung. It's all Samsung stuff. And so what it does is when I sync the sound bar to the TV, it uses the TV speakers as the rear speakers. So it can emulate the surround sound. And then it came with a subwoofer. So first I tested it with MechWarrior 5, and it was insane. The sound of because the game does a good job of the left, right, when your feet are stomping, the triggers vibrate on the side that has, and then you can hear it, and it's the sound system. It was insane, and I love the reaction my brother had when we were playing MechWarrior. But even when we started, was it Invincible, and it was the first fight scene in front of, I think, Washington, the Capitol. And then it just all came in. And then my buddy's like, dude, good sound system. I'm like, oh, it worked out. And it wasn't like this was expensive or anything. It was just Samsung brand, and it had new technology that worked with, because I think some of the stuff I buy tends to be like the mid-range, not the high-end stuff, but it's still really good. So that's kind of unlocked a new thing for me with gaming in the living room, is now I can really get this. I'm coming back to all this stuff that I totally got out of. It's fun. Hey, Breakman X, Bloomer's mom. Thanks, man. Thanks for joining. Hope you have a good morning. Minnehatter got kids like an Xbox achievement. Kids acquired. Yeah. And then they hit a certain age, and then it's like independence, and then now parents can do your own thing. That's what I feel like. Anime night, sound system. So, anyway, last night, I think after everyone left and I was just chilling on the couch with the wife, and I decided to check out this Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time. I might have played it before, actually, like on PlayStation. Let me see what happens if I type Crash. No, but there's Castle Crashers. There's other Crash Bandicoot games on here. I even thought maybe I played the trilogy. Oh, is this? Yeah, the Insane Trilogy. Yeah, right there, but not too much. The thing I will say about 4 is the graphics are really good on Crash 4. I feel like they are like the Pixar of video game cartoon stuff. It was really good just walking around in the world. I might play some more of that. It was a fun time. Okay. Let me get a little drink. I think that's all I played. I think I was playing a little more Call of Duty Mobile just because, that Gundam thing is dropping. And I will say that I can't revert the right joystick, unfortunately. But it's fun. I'm actually super surprised with how fun Call of Duty is on mobile. I'm just really wanting to play this Gundam event, so I'll jump in for that later. Although, yeah, I can't revert the right thumbstick. I don't know how I can deal with that. Let's jump into some news. Resident Evil Requiem Online open world rumors are true. So I guess I hadn't paid attention enough to this, but apparently before Resident Evil 9 was properly revealed, a lot of the leaks discussed it being an open world online game, which actually sounds pretty intriguing, although that could be dangerous, especially with the formula like Resident Evil that already works. But apparently, they decided to stop doing that, that it wasn't working. In fact, a bad match for, oh no, that's Leon Kennedy. A bad match for horror, which that's a whole other thing. But I think it's a good idea sometimes when they realize that, this isn't what people really want. Yeah, there's something I saw in here where they're like, here we go. Some interesting concepts, but it wasn't something that fans wanted to see or play, which I get it, because I could see where if you're making a series for a while, and they're like, oh, here's a neat idea, but it's like, okay, but is that really good for the franchise? And I guess this is in line with how Capcom is with their IPs. They're really thoughtful. You can see how they were trying something new, and they're admitting that, it didn't work, so we're kind of sticking to the formula, so that's good. Capcom killing it like always. Okay, Bandai Namco Summer Showcase 2025 arrives this week. Okay, so there's a lot that I personally am thinking when it comes to this, because, here it is, because I didn't know they released the list, but the list is here. Code Vein 2, Death Kill, Everybody's Golf, Hot Shots, Little Nightmares, all of these that they are showing. Oh, I didn't realize they were publishing Blood of the Dawnwalker. But all of these that they are showing have already been announced. Out of these titles, we only know what Tekken 8 will reveal at the band. The developers have not revealed the future of that. So what I was hoping for, and I would be very disappointed in if there's nothing Gundam related coming out of this, right? And I know that doesn't really matter, and that's what I find interesting as being a big Gundam fan, but also following the game and seeing that Gundam has a gaming following. It's interesting how Gundam is treated differently in the gaming sphere. When Gundam games come out, they're treated as marketing toward Gundam fans, and I think that's the issue with why the games don't do too well. And Bandai Namco, though, has so much potential within all these cool IPs to be like, well, then here's this Gundam thing, because it could be done really well. In fact, just playing that MechWarrior game, realizing how much the Gundam space could really own, but it doesn't in video games. So we'll see. I got to say, though, I am excited about this Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. I feel like that's going to be a lot of fun. Does it even have a release date? Oh, September 4th. Oh, that's coming around the corner. I don't know about you guys, but these games are pretty fun. Chris, was it online? Really? Online can be like extra unlocks like Mercenaries. Yeah, and I think their idea with Resident Evil 9 was from the ground up open world online game like the Descendants or something like that. But yeah, it's good that you know what, but I think online can be like extra unlocks like I think though there is potential for online to still be used in a lot of ways. Like think of okay, and I'm going to use Sniper Elite as an example because I think that's a great foundational how to make a video game. Because in Sniper Elite, while you're in the level, the open world, the area, doing your thing, enemy players can invade. So think about playing a Resident Evil game where you've already beat it, you're in the main game, but there's an option where players can join as one of the monsters and try to hunt you down. That could be something that's already happened before, but I think that's a cool idea within your single player or your campaign experience of Resident Evil. Also, something more they should be doing, they might have, and I've missed this, is taking the survival horror games to add co-op that are similar to what Siphon Filter Omega Strain did, whereas in the game, players would have to split up. And that's a pretty interesting concept. I know Resident Evil has had co-op. 5 and 6 was really fun with their co-op, but I'm talking where people are having their own stories, but in context of being with others. That's probably another video talking about. But I used to love Hot Shots. Yeah, those games are just fun, chill, play with other people. Okay. Oh, but what's funny is there's Everybody's Golf and there's Hot Shots Golf. And so what they did with this game is they're calling it Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. It's confusing. Outbreak was it was interesting with some of those online Resident Evil games. I think they had something there. All right, Myth Force version 1.2. This looks cool and familiar, but I don't think I ever bothered with this game. So, yeah, first person, but I think it's a live service game, But this looks really neat. I like the graphics. It's cartoony. I might have to give it a shot. And it might have been like early access or something when it was first. Oh, and it's on sale for $10. And there's a demo. I'll probably try the demo later. Yeah, 2023. It sounds about right, because I remember when it was first announced, it looked awesome, and then it just kind of fell off. I don't think it... But it's cool to see, again, a 2023 game here in 2025 that's been getting updates, and it has mostly positive reviews, although 359 is kind of low for what this is. That's very interesting. Yeah, I might try this out later. So let me just throw it in my wish list because it's got a demo. Okay, or like an RE co-op where each player has a hidden agenda, like a goal they have to achieve. I like that too. I feel like there's things you got to do to make it where it's not so linear. I feel like once something is co-op, it's like a linear experience. Siphon Filter Omega Strain was one of the few games I've ever seen that made it like an asynchronous co-op. Asynchronous co-op. Okay, after Ridge Racer Arcade Archives is giving another. Wait, I'm sorry, I forgot the comma. After Ridge Racer, Arcade Archives is giving another early polygonal Namco arcade game its first home release, and I thought this was really cool because I had never played this Air Combat 22. So it hit arcades in 1995, has never been re-released. That would explain that. This is neat. So I like the Arcade Archive stuff. So I would like to see when this. Okay, it was called Air Combat 22. Let's see. And there's another little picture of it. Again, Hamster. They're the ones killing it. But does it say when it's coming out? Air Combat 22 will be coming to Switch 2, PS5, and Xbox Series XS. Not PC. As an Arcade Archives 2 game, and to Switch and PS4 as an Arcade Archives game. Wow. Way to confuse people. And then is it going to be on PC? And if not, I'd like to check it out on. This is a good example of a game that you might as well just get on a Switch if you can't get it on PC. Because the graphics aren't going to require too much. So you got that out of the way, but then you have the portability. But it's weird that it's going to be named different on Switch and Switch 2 and PS4 and PS5 as if it's not backwards compatible. All that stuff is confusing, which we're going to get into some of that. I might rant a little. Yeah, we already looked at that. Okay, yeah, we're going to get into my ranty phase. And I put it on Twitter. I just thought this one, I find it interesting, just the article in general. So when I read former Blizzard president and Xbox exec says Xbox needs to pick their lane and stick to it. So this sounds like someone big and powerful is criticizing Microsoft for something. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So someone credible. What is this criticism? And when I really read it, it's just a tweet of Mike Ybarra, who was forced out of Microsoft. He was with Microsoft for 20 years, went to Blizzard for the sole reason of prepping Blizzard to be bought by Microsoft. They did the same thing with Nokia when, I forget the dude's name, went from Microsoft to Nokia. And then he became the CEO, and then Microsoft bought them. It's the thing they do, which I feel like it's almost like they're just using the person. But anyway. And then he's just saying, tough to see Xbox confused about who it is and what it should be. Some great people there still. They have to figure out what needs to change. And, a lot of this has to do with even, I was just saying her name. Actually, her name is in here. Just came out with a video that she was also criticizing. Laura Fryer. There we go. She was also criticizing Xbox in their direction. But I'm confused because, and I tweeted this, when Satya Nadella became CEO in 2014, since then, Microsoft's message has been that they're getting out of hardware. Everything is going to be cloud, and they're working toward that. So it's just, 11 years later to get articles that are like, how credible does this article matter? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Of a guy that's not even at Microsoft anymore because he got pushed out. And then this article is also backing what Laura Fryer's similar comments, which I get the understanding of. Maybe they just want to report, hey, so-and-so said this. But why does it matter that so-and-so said this? Because I think both instances, and again, I don't want to disparage anyone by saying any of this stuff, Laura Fryer and Mike Ybarra are both people that are probably above and out of their element. Because even how Laura Fryer was explaining, it doesn't make sense to have a partnership with AMD. And it's like, whoa. I mean, Microsoft historically has made hardware partnerships since the beginning. In fact, Microsoft only exists the way they do is because in the 80s, they were using their product as a service, when DOS, to be put on other hardware that they weren't making. Microsoft has a history of not making hardware, but supporting platforms with their software. And so this is exactly what's going on here. They're using Asus to have a new handheld. And AMD, they've used AMD in the past. That's not new either. Destin from IGN. I would like to assume he's credible, but even on his stream last night, he was talking about it's strange that Microsoft would have a partnership with AMD. And I'm like, no, it's not. They've always had a partnership with AMD. And I think he maybe meant to say Asus. But even if so, that is a normal thing. Microsoft will sometimes make a device themselves if they're trying to push the market in a direction. The first Xbox had an Ethernet port. What was Microsoft trying to push then? It's not what you think. They were just trying to map the IP addresses, because by people having an Xbox set up, that Ethernet port, you're getting an IP address. And this isn't a bad thing. It's not like it's personal information they're trying to collect. In fact, Microsoft is then able to map IP addresses. This helps, I think, with server infrastructure, where you can then delegate, IP addresses to certain servers so you can, load balance. I want to say at the end of the day, for Microsoft, video games is a means to an end. And I feel like what's funny about that is for Nintendo and Sony, or, maybe Sony, I think Sony almost treats their PlayStation like that is the product. Nintendo treats their games as that is the product. It's not really for Microsoft, but out of all the companies, Microsoft is the most consumer friendly. Also with, the recent news about them making all of their Xbox and 360 games backwards compatible, So anyway, I find all the kind of the discussion online very interesting when it comes to what former execs think of the direction Xbox is going. It's almost like they're kind of stuck in that past, and that is completely valid. I think as you get older, it's very common for people to kind of be stuck and set in some ways. And it is hard for a lot of people to accept a future where there's no more consoles, Destin does have Xbox fanboy vibe pop up every now and then. MS isn't full in with Xbox. So Chris, I'm curious what you mean by saying MS isn't full in with Xbox, because I guess that's what I'm trying to explain here. Mike Ybarra, Laura Fryer, even this article writer does not get what Microsoft is doing. Xbox, again, like the term Xbox is just a label. It's just a name. That really has nothing to do with their initiative, which is having everyone having their services. And they know that if they want everyone to have their services, they have to have a quality product. So them making all of their Xbox games backwards compatible on PC is the most consumer-friendly thing any video game company could be doing right now, especially Nintendo is charging for GameCube games on a Switch. That they release, it requires an online service that then can be removed, and the games aren't permanent. Microsoft is making their games permanent. Sony doesn't have the crossplay that Microsoft has. So I guess so when you say MS isn't full in with Xbox, they are more in their games division than any other company. That's how I see it, and I benefit from that. Just like ROG Ally hooked up to my TV, I can stream any Xbox game, and it's a Windows device, and I can stream PlayStation games on with PS Remote. Full as in developing their own stuff. For example, they went no, yeah, but that is the point. Since 2013, 2014, Sadia Nadella said they are going cloud first because the entire industry has to. This is not sustainable creating hardware in this way. Sony's overhead is their PlayStation. That's why they come out with a Pro. It's not because they're like, oh, here's a more expensive console. It's like we can make something cheaper, but now it has more parts, so we can get people to buy the next model. You know, and again, Microsoft, the reason they exist the way they do today is since the 80s, they were not developing their own hardware. They were giving Windows to, even if you think about the most popular video games are not made by people that are making, like Grand Theft Auto, that company, they don't make their hardware that Grand Theft Auto goes on. And Grand Theft Auto makes more money than some video game companies. I know people grew up with hardware and they think hardware is the future, but it's not. Anyway, guys, I got to go. That was a little longer than normal. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad I got to rant on this because I feel like this is noise a lot where people are then like, it's just more reason for people to go like, oh, well, Xbox does that and PlayStation does that. But it's like, I don't know. There's a plan in place and they've been pretty clear about it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to head out. That was a lot of fun. Until next time, have a good one.